What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of The Fight Corner, episode number 19. This week, taking a look back at Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira from the UFC Apex, highlights and breakdown from the entire main card and the prelims, as well as who took home the $50,000 bonuses, and then rounding out the show with a brief look ahead to next week's sneaky good fight card. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Michel Pereira from the UFC Apex. So, without any further ado, let's get into this week's episode. And in your main event, it was Brandon Royval taking on Tatsuro Taira in the Flyweight division. Royval does a great job defending the early takedown from Taira, and Royval starts finding his range, landing hard shots on Taira and a solid kick to the body, and blasts him with a clean 1-2. Taira is able to get the fight to the ground near the end of the round, but is not able to take advantage of the position. In the second, Taira is in on the takedown early, getting Royval to the ground, and does a really great job controlling him. No matter where Royval goes to turn, he keeps that body triangle in and just stays with him, which is really exhausting, especially when defending chokes and taking those short shots as well. In the third, great takedown defense from Royval with a knee initially on the incoming Taira and then using strikes and another solid knee to get the space. And in that space, Royval really starts putting it on Taira with hard punches and non-stop pressure. And Taira trying to stay in this, but he eats a knee that nearly drops him, and Royval now on Taira's back, and he looks to go for the armbar from that position, but that allows Taira to regain top position and getting on the back, ending the round looking for the choke himself. In the fourth, Taira getting in on the body lock, dragging Royval to the ground and getting to his back and not giving him any space, landing short shots and really just smothering him and controlling. And it's all to fight for going into the fifth, and Royval is doing what he needs to do to win this fight. But Taira is able to secure another takedown, but Royval does not accept the position and scrambles to end up on top, and then gets the fight back on the feet to the center, and landing a solid left hand on Taira before defending another takedown and continuing to land on Taira, who shoots the double, but Royval defends with the guillotine, rolls it into the mounted guillotine, and finishes the round in the dominant position. And this went to the judge's decision, and it was split. One judge had it 48-47 for Tatsuro Taira, and the other judges had it 48-47 for your winner, Brandon Royval. And in your co-main event, it was Brad Tavares taking on Jun-yong Park in the middleweight division. Tavares dropping Park with a right hand early and jumping on his back and looking for the choke, but Park does good to get back to his feet, where each land good shots as Park looks to pressure Tavares against the cage, and Tavares with some solid right hands and attacking the lead leg as well. In the second, some wild exchanges to start the round, with Park pressing forward and Tavares countering, but Park is landing more on Tavares. And Park is really starting to beat up that lead leg now of Tavares, and using his jab really well, continually popping Tavares with it. And in the third, they throw down in close to start this round, and Park is able to eventually clinch up and look for the takedown against the fence, eventually getting Tavares to the ground, smothering him and landing short shots for the rest of the round. And this went to the judge's decision, and they were split, with one of the judges giving it 29-28 to Tavares and the other two scoring it 29-28 for the winner, Jun-yong Park. Next up on the main card, Jared Gooden and Chidi Njokuani in a catchweight bout at 172 pounds. Gooden working real hard to get that takedown to start this one off, but Njokuani refusing to being held down and lands some good knees to the body of Gooden from the clinch against the fence. And a nice short elbow, and he continues to drive those knees to the body of Gooden, and an icy stare down at the end of the first. In the second, good shots from Njokuani, and nearly with the head kick before clinching up against the fence and landing more knees to the body and solid elbows. But Gooden seems to be taking it well, but he is getting smashed against the fence and seems to have no answer. He is eventually able to break into space near the end of the round. In the third, Gooden finally able to secure his takedown, but Njokuani quickly back to his feet. Gooden staying attached to the takedown, but not able to get it back to the ground, and Njokuani landing a solid knee that hurts Gooden right up the middle. Gooden now is the one looking to clinch up and going for the outside trip, but ends up pulling Njokuani right on top of him, who starts looking for short elbows of his own. And Gooden coming real close with the Kimura trap to take in the back, but Njokuani staying on top and landing ground and pound till the bell. And this was an easy, unanimous decision victory for the judges, 30-27 across the board for Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani. Next up on your main card, it was Grant Dawson and Rafa Garcia in the lightweight division. Dawson using a lot of kicks to start this one before getting in on a single leg, which Garcia did a good job of initially defending, but Dawson is able to get the fight back to the ground, looking for ground and pound from the guard, staying busy, on top, looking to pass, landing hard shots, and making Garcia really work off of his back. In the second, Dawson again right in on a takedown, dumping Garcia to the mat, landing vicious elbows, cutting Garcia, and forcing him to give up his back, where Dawson continued to smash Garcia with punches and elbows until Chris Taglioni calls off the fight. And this was an absolutely dominant performance from Grant Dawson. Hope to see more performances like this from him going forward. Kicking off the main card, it was Alex Morono taking on Daniel Rodriguez in the welterweight division. Morono looking sharper on the feet to start this one, doing a good job of mixing up his punches and kicks, seemingly causing Rodriguez some issues. Moreno usually going first in the attacks, but when Rodriguez does initiate, Morono counters and is having the last shot as well. In the second, each having success to start the round, with Rodriguez looking more comfortable now, landing the better shots. Morono still finding a home though for his right hand, but Rodriguez has pulled this one even going into the third. Morono with a solid right hand connection to start that third round, with Rodriguez landing one of his own in return, stumbling Morono. And each having success on the feet as the round goes on, but it's Rodriguez landing the better shots and getting some good knees to the body from the clinch against the cage. Rodriguez also securing a brief takedown near the end of the fight. And this went to a judge's decision and they were split 29-28 by one of the judges in favor of Alex Morono, and the other two gave it 29-28 in favor of Daniel Rodriguez. And in your feature prelim, it was CJ Vergara and Ramazan Tamirov in the flyweight division. Big, powerful strikes from Tamirov in the first, not with the most accuracy, but they are night-ending shots. And a massive left hand sits Vergara down, and then another right hand, and Tamirov is throwing everything into these shots before eventually deciding to rip to the body with a left hook, crumbling Vergara and forcing Jason Herzog to stop the fight. And this was an unbelievable performance by Ramazan Tamirov. Yeah, Uzbekistan has another fighter to watch out for. And we had Jonathan Pierce taking on Pat Sabatini in the featherweight division. Sabatini getting the fight to the ground fairly early and smothered Pierce from the back position on the ground. And even when Pierce was standing, he kept the body triangle locked in, slipped the arm under the chin, had a super tight rear naked choke, forcing Pierce to tap. I thought he was going to grit it out until he went out, but he did end up tapping, and that was a dominant grappling performance from Pat Sabatini. Themba Gorimbo and Nico Price in the welterweight division. Gorimbo coming out hard, right and left hands, upstairs, and really punishing the lead leg of Price early, and then getting the double leg and looking for ground and pound, passing the guard, and landing more shots before moving to the back, cranking on the face, and Price looks for the slam, but Gorimbo stays attached to the back. Hard shots from the clinch by Gorimbo early in the second before securing another takedown, and then landing knees from the clinch. Gorimbo still looking good on the feet, landing the better shots and controlling the fight, but Price is still in this one. But in the third, a really nice takedown from Gorimbo against the cage, and he just smothers Price, landing short shots and finishing the round basically on Price's back. And this went to the judge's decision, and it was a unanimous one in favor for Themba Gorimbo. Next up on the prelims, it was Junior Tafa and newcomer Sean Sharaf in the heavyweight division. Both of these guys having success on the feet early, but it's Tafa landing the better, cleaner shots, counter rights, and some hard left hooks as well. But Sharaf was able to get the takedown at the end of the round and nearly got the stoppage with some vicious ground and pound. Hard right hand from Tafa early in the second stumbles Sharaf, and he continues to land on him against the cage, and then a series of right uppercuts, and Sharaf is basically out on his feet, and another uppercut forces Mark Smith to stop the fight and giving the TKO victory at 2:15 of round number 2 to Junior Tafa. Corey McKenna and Julia Polastri in the women's strawweight division. A lot of strikes from the clinch from both, with Polastri landing the far better strikes and some really hard knees as well. Back in space, Polastri stalking McKenna with lots of forward pressure, and McKenna is looking to counter, but some real hard knees from the clinch by Polastri, followed by some good elbows as well. More good strikes in the clinch in the second, with both having success there, but Polastri does seem to have the edge, landing the better strikes and controlling McKenna. And in the open, Polastri just keeps coming forward, and McKenna is still landing, but the shots from Polastri are having more impact. Hard kicks to the body from Polastri to start the third, and following it up with more punches and attacking the lead leg of McKenna. Again, McKenna is landing, but Polastri is hurting McKenna when she lands, forcing her to look for the takedown, and eventually getting Polastri to the ground, but is not able to do anything with it. And this went to a judge's decision, which for some reason was a split decision, with one judge giving it 29-28 for McKenna, which is crazy, while the other two scored it 30-27 and 29-28 for the winner, Julia Polastri. Daniel Argueta and Cody Haddon in the bantamweight division. Argueta getting the fight to the ground early, but Haddon does a great job of getting back to his feet. But Argueta getting back to the clinch and hits a nice little slide by to get on Haddon's back. But they do break back to space, and Haddon lands some good hard shots on the feet and does a real good job to keep the fight there, cracking Argueta against the cage. But Argueta with a nice right hand himself near the end of the round. Haddon landing real good shots at the start of the second, and Argueta does also land as well, cutting Haddon over the eye. And it's Haddon now getting the takedown and getting on the back of Argueta, who reverses the position, and they end up back on the feet again, where Haddon comes really close with the counter knee, and it's a real great back and forth battle, with each having success on the feet and on the ground in this round. In the third, two right hands from Haddon to start, and they are both throwing and landing on each other, but it's Haddon landing the far better shots, nice jabs, and hard right hands. But Argueta is still there in Haddon's face, looking for the takedown, but is not able to secure it. And this was a really great fight that went to the judge's decision, and it was unanimous for the UFC newcomer Cody Haddon, 30-27 across the board. And kicking off the prelim card, we had Clayton Carpenter and Lucas Hosha in the men's flyweight division. Each of these guys looking to assert themselves early, landing hard shots on each other and really mixing up their attacks, until Carpenter is able to secure the takedown, looking to pass and landing a nice elbow, cutting Hosha on the left eye. Carpenter nearly moving into mount, and then another solid elbow, and just grinding on Hosha and more elbows before the end of the round. In the second, a lot of pressure from Carpenter, but a beautiful jumping knee and a left hand off the cage from Hosha early in the second keeps him at bay. But Carpenter, though, again, landing a nice body kick and then drives through Hosha with the double leg, going right to the back, locking in the rear naked choke, and it was really deep. But Hosha refused to tap, stayed tough with it, tried to fight the hands, threw a few shots in desperation, but then went out. And this was just a fantastic performance from Clayton Carpenter, really showing his smothering ground game and some impressive ground and pound as well. It'll be very interesting to see who he gets paired up with going forward. And your bonus winners for the evening. Fight of the night honors went to Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira for that epic back and forth 5-round battle, which saw Royval come out the victor and a split decision victory. Performance of the night bonus went to Ramazanbek Tamirov for his absolute demolition job of CJ Vergara in the first round. And the other performance of the night bonus went to Clayton Carpenter for his dominant ground performance over Lucas Rocha, getting the rear naked choke finish in round number 2. And we had some fight announcements recently, mainly around UFC 310, which is going to feature Bilal Muhammad defending his welterweight title against Shavkat Rakhmonov. And in the co-main event, it'll be Alexander Pantoja defending his flyweight title against the Japanese newcomer Kai Asakura. Also announced Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov, the return of Nick Diaz taking on the very dangerous Vicente Luque, Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, as well as Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes. So the card's shaping up pretty good right now. It'll be interesting to see what other fights get announced for it. And I'm also expecting a lot more big fight announcements to come in the near future. But for this weekend, Michel Pereira taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the main event. We also got Rob Font and Kyler Phillips in the co-main event. Your feature bout is Charles Johnson and Sue Madarji. And then kicking off the main card, you have Darren Elkins and Daniel Pineda. There's definitely going to be some blood in that fight, that is for sure. And a few good fights to look out for on the prelims as well. Mateus Nicolau taking on Asuo Alamabayev, Brad Katona and John Matsumoto. In the heavyweight division, kicking off the card, Austin Lane and Robles Despagne. I have a feeling someone's going to get knocked out in that one. And that's this weekend from the UFC Apex. Early start time here in the UK. Prelims kicking off at 9 p.m. That does it for another episode of The Fight Corner. That's 19 now done and in the books. Thank you all once again for tuning in. It does mean a lot. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back next week with a breakdown of the Anthony Fluffy Hernandez Michel Pereira card. So until then, peace.